thoughts into VR.
GPT-3,
Um,
you say?
GPT-3.
Can you put that
GPT.
in a live stream chat?
Now recording.
Welcome to the Yanggang Roundtable. We have myself, Feiku, Mia Songbird, and our guest, Gavin Campbell, here today. I had no idea we were doing a show. I was just fortunate that I happened to walk over to my computer and see Faye messaged me. So welcome. This is a Basic Income Advocacy podcast. And it is nice to meet you, Gavin. Could you please tell me who you are? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I am here in Alaska. I work, recently started a podcast that advocates for people to empower themselves so that they're capable of empowering others. So the idea is to just create a cohesive narrative around the different aspects of empowerment and how we can engage in them and maintain that process via community building and incentive structures. Um, I'm also here working on a house, so I do that as well. And yeah, that's my current life up here in Alaska.
Nice.
Spend a lot of time on Clubhouse, just sifting through rooms and finding. Basically, I find people who perk my attention, and I invite them on the podcast, and I just try and find really positive message each time. So that's my MO.
How did you find your way to our podcast?
Well, he invited Mia because we just pre-talked this. He invited Mia to his podcast,
Okay.
and so Mia invited him back to ours.
I heard some of it, but I kind of missed it because I was setting up all the text, the text stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about your podcast. What is it called?
EWTA stands for especially with that attitude. It came up a number of years ago. A friend of mine said it, and it always just stuck with me. I was like, huh, you know what, you're right. If I just change my perspective, I really can just do anything, whatever I put my mind to. And if I believe I can't do it, I've already said no for myself. And so it always kind of stuck with me. And recently I got thinking about what it's going to take to see some of these changes that we're all beginning to coalesce around. We're gaining greater and greater understanding around what our intention is, and having more clarity about the implications of it. And so I started talking with people about a global movement. I thought, you know what, I think there's enough people on planet Earth who believe in a guiding principle to lead our lives and in a human-oriented way. And I started talking about the scale and thinking about the scale, and there were many people who would say, never gonna happen. And all I could think was, especially with that attitude.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's what I often think about. I'm like, if you don't think something can be done, just get out of the way while we go and do it. Just, try not to at least hinder it. Let's try to, and I feel like the thing people don't really understand is like change is happening constantly, right? You're hurtling through space and you're like, the world is turning and you don't even notice it. You think you're sitting still in your room. Right. But all of this is happening. The change is happening. You just need to push it very slightly in the right direction. Just like that jet stream that hit us down in Texas, like it just barely, probably at the beginning, it moved a couple of degrees and boom, it hit Texas, at the end of it. So.
Yeah.
So what kinds of things do you talk about on your podcast? Could UBI be one of those things?
One of those things.
Yes. I like I said, I want to make a very cohesive narrative around this concept of empowering individuals. So I've had a number of different spiritual practitioners, I'm in a consciousness group, and my my instructor, I had him on. Um, and then I'm having neuroscientists, um, and I had Mia on, and then right shortly thereafter, I had a gentleman who's the founder of a foundation called Copiosis. And I don't know, I think I may have sent it to you, Mia, the P2P Foundation and Copiosis. But
Interesting. We
yeah,
should discuss
yeah.
that at some point.
y- Oh boy, I'm getting echo. Sorry. So yeah, I'm just trying to run it through all the different professions. This weekend, I'll be having a teacher on who is doing some amazing work with his classroom when I tap into the education side, etc. So yeah,
Hi, Ariel.
Hmm.
Hi guys, good to
Hey.
be here. Oh, and by the way, I heard of the Copiosis foundation. They're trying to like replace money with like NBR and stuff like that. Like it's more of like a benefits based economy that works through some kind of algorithm. It's so interesting. We had a guy on Stream People who was a carpenter who talked about that. So I'm a bit familiar.
What's
Well,
stream
that's
people?
awesome. I would like to know what copiosis means, that word.
I think it's something to do with wealth and prosperity, and
Like
abundance.
copious. Think
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so basically the opposite of scarcity mindset. We're talking about
Yep.
abundance
Abundance.
mindset.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Oh, I didn't even know there was a word for it, copiosis. And here we have been working on this.
Yeah, and in that platform, it's just this one of the first steps towards that. There's going to be a series of, deregulation when in like legal ways, and it's just a series of steps towards protopia, an acknowledgement that we can't reach utopia. So just getting closer and closer towards that aspect anyway.
Okay, so it is a word that's been made up to represent the things that this platform wants to do.
Right.
Okay. And the same thing with this net benefit rewards that you're talking about, because I'm on their website now, is that this is something that is made up like a new word that sounds similar to UBI. And it
But
sounds, but they're
yeah,
saying this kind of sounds like UBI to me, but it's NBR, net
yeah. So
benefit rewards.
the
Hmm.
NBR is exclusively for purchasing luxury goods. All your basic necessities
Oh.
are a given, and anything that you need to create an object is also provided. So the NBR is exclusively for you. You can't trade it away, and you can only use it for you'll just use it for items that are, yeah, a luxury. So yeah,
So is this an extant currency in any form yet, or is it just a theory at the moment?
think it is it's a theory right now.
All right.
It's yeah, the concept is so large that they're still in, like, I think they have two pilot programs that are about to begin. Other than that, it's just like, and they have like just a shade under 1,000 members on their Facebook group. So
New pilot
they're
programs for that small of a coalition. That's some ambitious work, though. That's a lot of people who have some real dedication.
bingo.
So is this eventually going to be like a cryptocurrency?
It would, yeah, yeah. I assume it's going to be something on the blockchain
Ah,
anyway. But
cool.
we'll see. We'll see how far technology progresses in the next 5 to 7 years. Who
Yeah.
knows what could come up?
Well, I think it's really interesting that in this space, there's so many different competing technologies, people who are working on different ways of providing a UBI through either crypto or through some sort of, new type of currency type of thing that would transcend boundaries of nations and so forth, and maybe escape some of those controls. So, but the great thing is that there are so many, but it's confusing too, right? Because there's so many. So, like if you live in the United States, you use the US dollar, right?
Hmm.
But when you look at there's Copiosis with their new currency, then there's the good dollar, then there's the I just heard about something called the UBI dollar. Have you heard of that one?
I saw it on the Twitter feed.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we added you to our podcast feed, right? So there's all of these different competing technologies, and I wonder which one's going to win. Should we just all participate in as many as possible, or how should we go about this right now? It's a lot of bandwidth to,
Yeah.
learn about each one.
Yeah. So I don't know what you all know about cryptocurrency. I'm just going to speak for myself here. It seems like there's a lot of glitter,
Hmm.
glitter and sparkles going on, especially in the NFT world where, it's this glamorizing of you could be rich and famous too,
Uh-huh.
and hopefully, I've been, the second I heard of the blockchain technology, I was like, oh yeah, that's just a good idea. Like
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. And so hopefully things at some point will die down and we'll begin to get more focused on what the utility of each of these platforms are and some of the more um, because they are they're they're creating them for different purposes.
Yeah.
They're so some of them will rise to the top and some will fade away and we'll get some more clarity about that with time is the hope. So yeah.
Yeah, we got basically a lot of startups right now that are going to either sink or fail in the next few
Mhm.
years. We'll see which ones are more successful because they'll start taking more and more of the pie, and eventually we'll start presenting them because that's how everything that gets too big works.
So, if net benefit rewards are specifically for your luxury goods, your non-essentials, a purely elastic demand goods. So there's presumably some kind of other system in place to meet one's basic fundamentals. What would that be?
Yeah, there's an acknowledgement that we're all trying to incentivize each other to do good, basically,
Hmm.
via the incentive structures.
Yeah.
And so that because it's a conjunction, like we're going to have all this automation, as we all know. And so we're trying to like take that and leverage it into giving everyone these basic needs.
Hmm.
That's how it's going to manifest, as I understand, is that like that all that work will go straight into supplying the basic needs of people.
So the
Did that?
NBR is kind of built on the presumption that basic needs will be taken care of by like some other system that someone else will create. Or am I
Um,
Well,
misunderstanding?
I think it's just a given. It's like just given, like however, you just don't pay for like a place to live. You just don't pay for the, kind of food
Well, yeah,
and
that sounds good. That sounds good. But is there like a information on how to get there and what the specifics of
yeah,
that system will be?
yeah. So, honestly, I'm not the person to talk to about this. I can give you general information, but you can pour over the Q&A. They have an FAQ, and I think it would take about 9 hours to
Oh
get
wow.
through it.
so,
Yeah, it's
so I'm not
very,
going to
very
do that.
extensive. Yeah.
You got
That
to
being
tell me.
said,
Yeah.
it's very interesting. The questions are very interesting because of the skepticism that's thrown towards this, and
Hmm.
so you get and you can see the transparency that he's trying to bring to the entire system. After each question is answered, there's a little hyperlink that says, "Still have questions? Click here," and your question will be answered, and we'll post it onto this blog.
Ah,
Every single question will be answered. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved with this project? Um,
Copiosis?
mhm.
I just interviewed him the other day. So there's a group, Changemakers Society, that I follow on Clubhouse, that they host Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and it's all the people that you want to be in a room with. Just the most inspiring individuals you've ever met, and very, very neat group of people. So they're working on a platform where you'll basically have a changemakers database, and they're trying to gamify goodwill. So anyway, that's where I initially heard of Perry. He was on there giving, a talk about copiosis and the implications of it, etc. And so yeah, he caught my attention, got in contact with him, and interviewed him. Yeah.
This actually is another, this reminds me of, why change is really interesting because, again, you've got a lot of different people in this space also competing for this, trying to do the best that they can do in their own way, right? And we're going to see which ones really win out and become the ones that become, uh, well known and well used and popular and so forth. But we've also interviewed a group called Leyline here. Have you heard of Leyline?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so that's also a group that's gamifying, and so Ariel will probably be able to tell you about it later because Ariel is much more involved than the rest of us.
Yeah, Ariel's the Wayline guy.
Awesome. I'm
Yeah,
excited.
yeah. He's
So,
trying to just yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
oh no, please finish up.
Yeah, he's just
Yeah.
trying to make it fun to like do like good things in the world, and like you get like these ley line points that you can convert and get something like a gift card or like a code and stuff like that. So yeah.
Leyline's
Yeah.
really specifically going after gamers first, and because the person who founded that came out of the gaming industry. So yeah, we'd love to get you hooked up so you can learn more about it too. And that's what this roundtable format is really for, is so that we can talk in groups. I would say, like we were like sort of the original Clubhouse where we kind of hang out together and get to know people. Yeah, but I think the really interesting thing about all of these different competitive, sort of things going on is that everybody had the same idea at the same time, it feels like, doesn't it? Like
There's
100
Necessity is
years
the
ago,
mother of
nobody was doing
invention.
this.
Yeah. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? We needed something like this. So
I'm sorry, what were you saying, Gavin?
Oh, yeah, there's the weirdest sensation. I don't I don't know if you all saw the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix.
Mhm.
I know of it.
But
I have not seen it. Yeah, I've heard of
okay,
it.
It's on
I've seen
Netflix.
the trailers, so yeah.
It's on Netflix
there's
if you have Netflix to watch it.
so there's where the AI says I have to go, and I can't explain to where. And Joaquin Phoenix, being the human that he is, obviously can't understand. And I've had a very similar sensation, oscillating between Clubhouse and then the real world. There's just all these people who have fucking or excuse me, sorry,
That's
really
okay.
good ideas, really good ideas, and you see in real time the puzzle pieces fitting together. So Faye, you were saying the competition. I don't see it as competition anymore. It's just like most people want to help each other, and they're just looking for a way to work together. And most of these people who are doing these really brilliant and brave and front of the line things have lower egos, so they're able to work well, and they recognize what's the better good. And yeah, the this platform Clubhouse is just it's bursting at the seams with just creative people who are doing amazing work, and just
Yeah.
really exciting. Yeah.
And then Twitter
Well,
Twitter Spaces is also like that. Even though like people assume that air can be really toxic, the spaces is the most not toxic. There's just something about the audio that's so much more enlightening than the text.
Well, you lose so much in the textual medium. You lose like the pace of
Yeah.
the cadence, the tone of voice, inflection, all kinds of stuff.
I do so much better in text than I do in the real world, though.
Some
Well,
people are more comfortable in it. Yeah.
one of the great things about the voice is that you feel like that person is definitely a real person. Now, once they get bots that can pretend to be you, or pretend to be a real person,
Oh, they already
which
can.
they have, right? Which
Yeah.
they have, but they're not
In
using. They're too
audio
expensive
format?
right now, right? They're just, yeah, in the audio format. Once
Yeah.
they get it to where robots can mix in with you, and then you're not quite sure again whether they're real or not
We're
real.
almost there.
Somehow that makes a difference.
Yeah.
That
But
makes a
but if
difference
it's an
fundamentally.
audio bot, I think I can catch that.
You'd think that, but I mean, check out some of the
If
newest
they're
Google
not
demos.
creative, if
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. Would it be discriminatory not to talk to a chat box that could fool you into thinking it was a person?
AI is more creative than you might think. AI can be startlingly creative.
Like if I said
but,
like
I mean,
who are your parents, and it was like machine number one, I'd be like,
No, in there are AI chatbots that will have a cover story. It'll tell you who their parents are, like John Smith and Susan Doe.
and then what did they do? And then
They'll make it up.
Just by saying that, I know that those are like some fake ass names.
My point is, if I'm having a conversation that is full of depth and is helping me discover something new, I will not care as much if it's a human or a bot.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
if you're talking about AI and it's bringing up valid points and has better points than anybody else I've ever talked to, I'm going to keep wanting to talk to that bot.
But do you
Okay.
want to know if it's a bot? There's something weird about that, right?
Yeah, of course you want to know.
We're mostly just our brains ourselves. Like our bodies are cases for everything else.
No.
There's some stuff that goes on in the gut and in the stomach that helps with the processing. And I know that there's other portions that affect it, but most of the heavy lifting happens in the brain.
Well,
So
that's what your brain wants you to believe.
Mhm.
So I think that's what I've been told yoga is for. I was told yoga is for making your brain less important again, because your brain always wants to tell you, I'm the only one you care about.
well, the main thing I say about that is like if you lose an arm, you're still able to think. If you lose if you get a stomach transplant, you're still able to consider yourself. But if you ever had a brain transplant, you definitely still wouldn't be you, right? So that's like where your personality resides for the most part.
Hi, Lucas.
Hi,
Thanks for
Lucas.
joining us.
Hey everyone.
Hi, Lucas.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's definitely, okay, I wasn't talking about a competitive, nature inside humans, but just the fact that there's a lot of alternatives. People are going to build it out as best as they can and see which one is going to attract more people to it. And then some of them are going to naturally just, not have enough participation because we don't all have enough bandwidth. We can't possibly participate in 100 currencies, but there are possibly 100 cryptos, right? At least.
Oh my
right
God,
now.
way more.
Possibly
Way more.
thousands.
At least thousands, tens of thousands. Yeah.
So some of them are going to win and some of them are not. And it's not, it's like a natural competition. It's not because, it's the ecology of it, not so much, that the people who are making it are competitive in their hearts. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, perhaps they'll merge and become umbrella more than normal.
Umbrella? I'm sorry.
Perhaps they'll merge into umbrella more than normal. Like instead of disappearing, maybe they'll be like, well, we do have this audience and that person has that audience. Let's combine our audiences and move forward that way.
Like a Resident Evil umbrella, right?
Yes, the Resident Evil umbrella. We absolutely want to infect the entire world.
There you
Zombies take over. Resources are less competitive for
There we
the
go.
everyday. The world is a better place.
So Gavin, this guy, the Copiosis guy, was he the same old carpenter that I knew, or maybe it's a different guy?
I'm not sure.
So
Well, are you a carpenter?
not Gavin. I'm talking about the Copiosis guy.
Oh,
So
okay.
So
Okay, I see.
Ariel came to know about Copiosis through an old carpenter guy, and so he's wondering if that's
An
the same
old
guy.
carpenter guy.
no, he was like building
Okay.
houses and stuff.
All right.
And I said, and I talked to him about UBI, and he's like, but I'm past that. I'm in Copiosis, and I'm like, what
Oh
the heck's
wow.
that?
It's like you met.
Like,
It's like you met a fairy person, like a
Right,
folk tale. This is like a
that's
Rumpelstiltskin.
funny. No. It was when Michael was having his Scream People thing.
Yeah.
And that's where he showed up. So that was pretty interesting.
So many projects going on. It's almost impossible to keep up with everything. And I think that's kind of more where you're getting at, Faye, right? Like,
It's hard to, it's almost, we're like supposedly experts at this, right? Because we've had so many people come and talk to us about things, but even I get things confused at this point because there's so many projects going on. But that's really exciting because that's what happens when a technology is going to happen. This is the revolution. When you see so many people, getting into it and they all want to put their own creativity into, they believe that they can make the best project. So or the fastest, maybe the fastest to market. You just don't know which one is going to make it. And so,
That
yeah, that's where we're at. Is we're the ones who are helping people to learn about all these different projects.
are you were with the breakneck speed, we all know what Andrew was talking about when he said, we're on this train headed off a cliff with our
Mhm.
economy, and that seems to be similar with this, like we're all making these sparkly things, and are we taking care of ourselves? Like, are we okay? And what do we actually want to be doing with our time and
Right.
energy? Um, what do we intend to see for our future? Rather than these like individual projects, which may be cool in their own right, but we still lack the love and wisdom to wield them. Excuse me.
Right. Well, that's where we have to kind of like come together and like push actual people who have the money, who have like I made something talking about filthy rich people with fragile egos. And I just think it's such a shame that all these people who have so much power and so much money, they use it for PR and to defend their egos and to do like something. And it's time we wake these people up and say like, hey, you guys have abundance. It's time for you to think about what's happening to the rest of the world and not just think about, I don't know, your TV show or like, whatever Bezos is thinking about his rockets to Mars, Elon Musk thinking about this. It's time we tell them that like, hey, like we're not happy about like this
really good
situation
PR.
here.
Ending world hunger is really good PR.
Right, yeah. That's it no, like it's so interesting how like you just like see these people who have it all, but all they can talk about is how like unfair the world is to them or like some bullshit like that. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Like do something productive, do something good, like help people out. Like nobody should give a shit about your ego. Like
Yeah.
So before we started the podcast, we did a little pre-talking, but now that we have a couple more friends joining us, I wanted to let you know that Gavin is in Alaska and is 1 hour earlier than even Ariel. So it's quite early in the morning for him.
wow, cool.
Yeah.
I thought someone was from Alabama or something, a friend that you made. Or that was different, Mia.
There might be another
I make
friend.
a lot of friends.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, Gavin, are you getting the permanent dividend fund up there?
I will be. I mean, I grew up here, so I got it all throughout my childhood.
Got it.
Oh, sorry,
just-
Faye. I hear that my Discord cut out and it rebooted me. What did you say about Gavin being in Alaska?
So we're just saying that Gavin is in Alaska. He's in a small town and not a big city. And I was also I was going to direct the conversation towards how we had talked about maybe we could change the state nickname to the UBI state. That would be really very good for our movement.
That would
But
be good
I
for the
don't think
movement,
the
yeah.
I don't
I don't
think
know
Alaskans will go for it.
uh, so you were saying, Gavin, how these projects that are the order of the day, so many people with so many projects, they don't necessarily uh, end up having a marked improvement on our like lifestyles, or is there what you were saying? We lack the wisdom to wield them, these projects.
Right.
So what does
Yeah,
that mean?
there's a quote that I just ran into recently that's really struck me. It said, "If we're gaining the power of gods, then without the love and wisdom to wield them, we self-destruct."
Yeah, that tracks. Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's what
Nice.
we're doing. That is what we're doing as a species, as a people, as a race of humans.
And it looks like
bingo.
percent is going on. I mean, I swear we kind of saw this with our former president. I don't even want to like say his name because but the thing is that it was all about his narcissism. It was all like, oh, like that's why the rallies were all about like love me, love me, love me, love me, love me, and it's like asshole, like fix a goddamn problem, you know? Like
It
we're
wasn't enough that you loved him though in Trump's or that guy
Mhm.
thing. It was you didn't just have to love him, you also had to hate who hated him. And it
Right,
didn't matter what their beliefs were, they just
right,
had to hate him.
right.
That's the cult
It
of
was
personality
all
there.
driven
So
by ego.
so Gavin, where do we get the love and wisdom requisite to correctly wield these projects?
Yeah, we need to get laser focused on a few things. One is making sense. That is our first step in this whole process, and we need to start bootstrapping ourselves with the capacity to discern what's real and what's maybe not so real or completely false. And part of this process is incentivizing people to hold heterodox thinking. Start we need to stop looking at things as in duality. We need to recognize that they're really, there are constructs in this world that are black and white that we've created. Either, the light switch is on or it's off. Um,
There's a dimmer.
right. And and what we need to start doing is assessing value, a likelihood to processes, and recognizing that we don't need to be right about anything. We need to be happy about things, right? And
Right.
if we double down on this is my platform and this is the only way that you will make it into, the only way that it will make you
Yeah,
happy is if you do what I say. Okay? That doesn't make any sense.
yeah.
What we're trying to do is be adaptable because like Faye, you were saying earlier, is this one constant is change, right? We need to be adaptable to the circumstances because they're coming ever quicker. And part of that process is making sense of what is reality. Okay, not what is your opinion about reality. No, what is reality? So I could go on further, but that's kind of where I'm coming from anyway.
Well, the reality of things is really obfuscated in our country because we believe that there's a freedom to information, freedom to say whatever the heck you want. And I've really been struggling with that because, uh, boy, I was super happy when Twitter stopped, you know, our commander in chief from spouting like things that were just absolutely not true, not factual whatsoever. And I feel like that's really what's going on. Like during when Fox News was saying that Biden was telling people that, you're only going to, his plan was that we could only have so much beef a year, 3 pounds of beef or something. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like we've got like entire news organizations that are very strong, just saying random things that are not true, not factual. And we have nothing in our society that allows us to actually, just say, no, you can't do that. Stop doing that.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's part of the process that I'm working on is that we need, I said earlier, maybe before we started recording, was I saw BLM went intercontinental. You know, we understand that the things they were standing for in principle were good ideas, and that if we can come up with a guiding principle or some kind of social contract, then we can have a movement that revolves around it. And what I was talking about is that we have to have this, like, the fusion of activism with culture. We need to start fusing together, like, people doing creative projects that also are that also push the narrative of, you know, we do have a lot of problems in this world, and we don't need to view them as just problems and obsess about how many problems. No, no. We start changing the conversation towards how do we make lemonade out of these lemons, right? We have all these lemons and let's have fun. Like, this is just an opportunity for us to find a solution rather than just viewing it as a problem.
I really like that. That's so positive. I love it.
I agree. So
Right.
why don't we take a single problem and maybe like, demonstrate what the thought process would be like, for
And
example.
we need some kind of hub that people can come to instead of the Fox Newses and MSNBCs of the world,
Mhm.
where we come together for news on what's happening with the solutions instead of just a jersey wearing brain dead competition of red versus blue.
Right.
Well, there's
Bingo.
also, I mean, when you've got these different facts going around, there's like alternate realities. And it's like you spend so much of your bandwidth just signaling to other people which reality you're living in, then which one
Yeah.
you're
No,
I'm
I
party
mean,
to this particular reality, you know?
right.
Right.
The jersey wearing, ball like sports game needs to stop. Like, it's over. Like, that's
Mhm.
it. Like, we don't care anymore. We just want to see, like, how do we fix this? It's
So
broken.
so
Like,
what that
yeah.
sounds like to someone who is wearing that other jersey, it sounds like you're saying that they have to stop.
No, I'm
It
saying
sounds
they
like
all
they
have to stop.
disappear.
I'm saying no, no. I'm saying you can still wear your jersey, but you've been up there in that ball game for like a whole entire year nonstop, wearing your jersey and jumping up and down. So it's time to, like, you can keep the jersey on, but let's step out of this ball game and fix these problems and not do this anymore.
Are are any of you familiar with the term gain B?
What's
Game
game
B,
B?
no. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
It's basically society 2.0. It's this concept that, like, it's just like copiosis. It's that we're not, like, actively trying to tear down the institutions or the legacy systems, but what we are trying to do is create new ones that circumnavigate them, basically, where the
Yes.
more they operate, the more people can look at them and be like, oh, that's just better. Like, let's just go over there. Like,
Uh,
making all the other systems obsolete, basically.
Right, right. Buckminster Fuller said, instead
Bingo.
of destroying the old ways of doing things, just create a better one. People will just come to that. Like,
Exactly.
something
The
along those
making the
lines.
new paradigm. The
Right,
paradigm shift
Yeah.
is stronger than anything else you could do.
right, exactly.
It's going to just obliterate what came before.
Like that's the beauty of it. Like I think, like, everyone's mind would get off this team, jersey wearing kind of like idea when we say, look, if you could have the abundance, like, if I could give you like $1 million tomorrow, would you take off that jersey? Let's see who would say no, right? If we introduce something, they're like, oh, I really like, rooting for these sports teams, but if I got something for not doing that, and that something was like something really cool, maybe I wouldn't be rooting for these sports teams anymore, you know?
I probably would refuse the money, but that's just me because I don't believe in being really all.
Oh yeah,
I would
yeah, yeah. No,
money,
it's
I'd
not
take
like,
money and then invest it in people, generally speaking. I have
Oh,
a feeling
okay.
yes.
Right. Yeah. It's not like because maybe you're thinking of it as more of like a bribe, and it's like
Right.
would you be bribed to the but it's not so much of a bribe as it is like an investment in the person, or maybe if I told you, look, I can get you like all of your headaches are coming from you doing this, and I know you don't like these headaches. So are you going to stop? And this is like the thing, this is like going to get rid, and then maybe say, oh, I really do hate these headaches, so maybe I'll stop. Like maybe if it's like if you ate red meat and it was really messing with your stomach, and
Right.
then you hated that but you didn't know where it was coming from. So that's the kind of solution that we're trying to make
I'd
away.
like to mention something real quick, though, on a good note. The red versus blue dichotomy is kind of dissolving on its own. We have more independents than we have either one of those parties. They just scream the most and have the most consolidated power from years
Well,
of.
it's time for us to scream louder. We're sick and tired,
Exactly.
you know.
More of us.
Wait, I'm not sure if screaming is what we want to continue
No,
doing.
not screaming, but like
Screaming.
making them irrelevant, drowning them out, or at least when they do scream, we put our fingers in our ear and go la 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 or something like that.
Yeah.
Coming to the table with better ideas and
Yeah,
implementing them. We've been discussing.
exactly. Yeah.
And Ariel and Megan, it's interesting you bring that up because I forgot her name. She was on there a few years ago on Bill Maher. Uh, that Lauren girl who used to be on TV or something or comedy, and she talks about how independent became the largest voting bloc. I think like 2 or 3 years ago or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very cool.
hmm
Calling it a voting block is kind of weird, but yes.
Okay.
There is a shift where the largest majority of Americans are not represented by the current politics. That's what that means. That they don't feel comfortable enough with calling themselves part of one side or the other directly. They may lean one way or the other, but they aren't comfortable with being labeled as one or the other. And that's a problem for both of those parties, right?
Right.
Well, the parties were created to be, heavy-handed, and the laws that we have that govern them, are basically allow them to choose whoever they want in the back rooms while they smoke or whatever, right? Even the Supreme Court said, yeah, that's how it works. So
Well, the founding fathers were a little bit afraid of mob rules because we've also seen, like, the majority at one point believed slavery was okay. So,
Yeah.
the mob is not always correct.
Well, you see, like it's about expanding people's frame, but because people don't see like what's outside the picture. So when Yang came in, he wasn't about like screaming at Trump supporters, calling them dumb and stupid. That's never gonna work. He expanded the frame to say like, hey, this idea is new and fresh, and I don't blame you for the idea you used to have. So that's more inviting to people. That's how he invented this thing where he got people from like all across the political line who are so sick and tired of business as usual. So if we can just expand the frame and not be judgmental, that's how we win people over.
Bingo. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exactly how I'm thinking too, Ariel. It's like we have all the people, all the people who have, this basic concept of the direction that they want to be. And I keep framing it as like metaphorically, we keep staring down at the road right in front of our feet. And what we need to start doing is getting super focused on picking your eyes up, picking your gaze up, and reorienting yourself toward what is the actual goal that I want to be headed towards. Because we may be 13 degrees off, and what we're all trying to get more oriented towards is this direction. And you know, I think that we need to present it like that. We need to say, if we see the results of what we've been doing. Who wants to change? Who wants it to be different than this? And what are you willing to do to make that happen? Help us. We want to help you. Help us help you.
So I was saying that maybe we could apply your approach to a actual problem, and you could tell us like what would that look like? Because then so people can get a better idea of what that would look like. Supposing we talk about universal health care, for example.
Hmm.
There's some people who are absolutely against it for some reason. I can't understand because I'm absolutely for it. So, what do you do when in this, with a specific problem like this? I feel like people need to have their healthcare taken care of, no matter who
Hmm.
you are.
Yeah, so I would say there's a term I heard recently, the too far gone. There are some people that you will probably never convince. You could spend many, many days and hours trying. So we need to not focus on them. Unfortunately, um, they're they're just not in that stage of life quite yet of listening, and work our way from the easiest hanging fruit downward. Um, you know, and then yet again showing that we are, this community, just like in Andrew
Mhm.
Yang, the Yang Gang, is that we're having fun with this process, gamifying the whole process, community building, so that you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, you know what? I have 5 other people who are waiting for me on this phone call, or, gonna go out and clean the beach with me, and they're counting on me. If I don't show up, I'll be missed, right? And so making some incentive structures to make that all work more consistently. We want to automate our best decision making processes rather than trying to, figure out why we wanted to exercise today each morning, and maybe saying, I don't feel like it, so maybe not.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are
Well,
the
wait, wait, wait. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Faye. So we were talking about healthcare, right? Do you want? So
Mhm.
how do I want to tackle that one specifically? Because I talk
I'm
about
just
these
talking about
things,
how you were saying that when people are they take either a black or white position, you're either for me or you're against me. So
right?
how do we
Right.
deal with this? Supposing we just take a single issue and we
Yeah, we need to, in an educational way, we need to start working away from the top down or bottom up, however you want to put it. Is that um Okay, actually, I was talking with Mia about this. So I have this idea on Clubhouse particularly, where you have an interdisciplinary group and you have an idea like healthcare. So what you do is you run the panel with for maybe like 2 hours, and you have an audience down below who can submit questions on the back end in the direct messages. And then you have a moderator for the direct messages who can feed the questions into the group who are talking about the issue. And so this taps into the live podcasting aspect and a direct democracy, because and you'll see. So after the 2 hours of running the ideas through the washing machine about, let's say, healthcare, you then do a miniature call to action. You outsource or crowdsource the ideas into the localized communities via the people who are listening to it. And what you're going to do is record the whole process, and you're going to embed it online, and you'll put up links to each question and the response, right? So that people can reference them when they go to, try and communicate the ideas. If they don't feel like they're the most effective communicator, they can just point people in the direction. They say, okay, from 2844 to 3021. And so what this does is it engages people in the process. Like, you have a vested interest in seeing this idea cultivate more and more. And you can bring back, so like 3 days later, you reconvene the group and you can bring back your more localized questions at that point. And you get people engaged in this process, this direct democracy where their questions are going to keep on getting answered. And that whole process gets people engaged in it, right? So you keep doing this until you reach more and more consensus. And once, there's never going to be a definite thing. Perfection is the enemy of progress. What we do is we do a final call to action, right? Who are the exact people that we need to talk to, the exact, legislation that we need to write, etc. so you do a call to action, a final one, and then you reconvene for a meta-analysis where sometimes people defect on, promises, etc. And it's just getting laser focused on each time we're trying to figure out not this general kind of like, what do we think about this thing, but who are the exact people who we have to email today to get on board with this process, and getting laser focused on how do we shape the reality that we want to see cultivated. Does
So
that does
basically, you're describing a method to find the most activated people and then dispense them.
activated, yes, and then, via persistence, we can, because there's only one way to change a person's mind, and that's to give them new information. If they sit in a bedroom all day, they can think about things. I mean, that's true. But with things like UBI, or I mean healthcare, we have to present new information that gives them something to actually consider, right? So we have to have this conversation being the front, the whole thing, rather than what's the weather like, and just Monday. I don't know, non sequiturs. We want this conversation to be up at the front of each conversation.
You're right, right. Something we can build off of, something that goes somewhere instead of something that like conversation that just dissipates and won't really be remembered. I understand.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
I want to disagree with the possibility that there are any people whose minds can never ever change. I
It
believe that people can change, and and they do, and it's just not always fast, and you just don't know when it will happen. You don't know what that little thing is that's gonna make them click. Uh,
But the people who want to be stubborn should be like our last priority first.
yeah,
We go
yeah.
after them, and then when that's done, like the stubborn people, we can kind of like
well,
say,
I actually disagree with the process because I don't feel that you can convince people because you want to. Okay, because all kinds of change happens. It's all internal. So we as the external motivators cannot make somebody change by persuasion. My ex-husband used to say something that I used to be annoyed by because he would say, "Well, you can't teach anybody anything." Because he felt that if you wanted to learn something, then you would learn it. It all depends on the person that wants to learn, right? So
yeah.
it has to be the internal motivation to actually acquire something. So that's actually what we need to work on is that the fact that we want to persuade someone is never going to persuade someone. You
Yeah.
know,
I I
what you
I, th-
need
I
is to be able to, have this human connection with them and to walk along together for a while until they can trust you enough to take in some of the things that you're saying to them. And so my thing with the roundtable, and I've been in conversations with Shale about this quite a bit, is you bring everybody in, especially people who don't agree with you, especially people that you think are the hard cases, because those are the ones that need to feel like we can be in the same group together. Once you're in the same group together, then there's a chance they can actually absorb some of the things that you can talk about.
yeah, I agree with you, Faye. I may have been a little bit. I didn't communicate clearly. Um, I Nothing in what you just said, I disagree with. So I think what I was trying to get at is that if we're trying to be effective, I don't know if y'all have heard of the 3.5% for a movement is like this breaking point. Right, right, right. What we're
Yeah,
trying to
I
do is
have.
get to that 3.5 with as little resistance as we can, right? We're trying to, you know, if we sit there and get dogged down in people who say no, 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 like then we just it gets bogged down. We've all experienced that in
Then you lose
communication where
motivation. Yeah.
yeah, 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 and the momentum just dies on arrival, right? So I almost think of it as like a hackathon, like, and that's where the fun part comes in. It's like, let's do this. Like, let's see how fast we could do something amazing, right? Like we can. There's nothing that it doesn't defy the laws of physics. That therefore it is possible. Therefore, it's worth fighting for.
Do
And
you think UBI has passed the 3.5 already? Because I think it has. What do you
mm,
guys think?
I think it has to.
Easy, easy, easy.
What were you
Oh,
going to say, Lucas?
I was going to say what you said earlier about advanced technologies and stuff. I just was thinking, like, I guess in a couple years from now, as we move deeper into this decade, you're going to see 3D printings in museums and stuff. And probably maybe free museums will start popping up, like the Yale Art Center, as an example, Art Gallery in New Haven. There'll be more of those. And maybe, what was the other one I was going to say? Oh, yeah, you're going to see more free phone apps as well.
Yeah, everything is moving towards open source, decentralized,
Mhm.
and we love it. You're right. It's 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 yeah, it's game B. Like I was talking about, it's everyone has access to all these tools. There is no hierarchy of accessibility and
Yeah.
paywalls
Well, unless they
to
don't have broadband.
yeah, right, right, right.
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 It's starting to sound like Second Life. No, not that.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name up at the top right. Um, Forgot it maybe.
Is it Ariel or Lucas that you're talking to?
Lucas, I think.
Lucas,
Yeah.
okay. Because we're
Yeah.
actually on different screens, different places. So it's a little
Oh,
complicated.
Yeah.
yeah,
The
Lucas.
other guy on the
Sorry, what was that? Yeah.
just saying that you were referring to the other guy on video, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I was curious if you could talk a little bit more about that, Lucas, like, the implications of the technology that are arising.
Well, it's interesting because I've downloaded a free apps from the Google Play Store, and I've noticed this. I just did it as an experiment recently. I was wondering, is this going to be free, or am I going to have to pay something for it? And most of them I downloaded, I think, yeah, actually all of them I downloaded were free, which kind of surprised me. Like this music app. Let me see what it's called. Um, Free Music. That was free. The one I also downloaded, All Trails, was free. YouNow was free. Nextdoor, the famous neighborhood website stuff, that was free. Zoom was free.
Are,
Ancestry.com app.
hold on. Are some of those free things advertising to you, though? Do you have experience advertisements in them?
Not really, but I just tested it out, like download. Yeah, and some.
Because I'm reminded of was it was Ariel who always says this, that if the product is free, then you're the product.
Mhm, mhm.
That's funny. Yeah, that's probably.
It could be a platform thing where, if you have a Google phone and they exclusively offer free apps, then that gives you the incentive to, immerse yourself in the Google platform. So in
Mhm.
that sense, it could be
It's
that's
a pretty
that.
cynical. That's a cynical statement, but it probably is pretty true in the way that we've built society so far,
Right.
as being the way that you gain status in the world is by having money now. And
Mhm.
so it's all about the trading of money for service and all products and all of that.
Right.
um I'm actually having a lot of trouble trying to get anybody to come and talk about the issues of you know not being able to how do you define your value as a human if money is no longer there? you know if you're no longer the provider of money, for example, for your family, and you're not the one gaining those resources, now what is your new value in as a person? And I think this is we are coming up on this very, very big societal change, right? And it it's hard because we have a hard time redefining who we are. Like, we just heard Joe Biden. I just heard him go on to Congress, right? and he got massive applause from the entire Congress when he said jobs, jobs, jobs. And I don't know how many times he repeated jobs. He just kept saying jobs, 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 and everybody stood up and applauded him. And here we are in the UBI movement going, like,
it was over 40 times he said the word jobs.
he said jobs 40 times, and he knew exactly what he was going to get
robot.
by saying it.
It's like well, your value as a human comes from your ability to be creative, to inspire, to move people, to create, being in like creating. I mean, we're humans. We created money. Money didn't exist. We create, like when I'm 3D printing, and I bring something into the world that wasn't there before through an idea or through a creation, I feel great. Like that's what I mean. And it doesn't have to be in the form of a job. It's so stupid. This old kind of like thinking, but you see, like the people in that at that age have been so indoctrinated from birth to couple their value as a human being to employment and to money that they don't know anything else. But the now, I mean, we need some young blood in these positions of power, because I don't know, it's ridiculous.
We need to change what it means to be a provider as well. Because I don't think that going off somewhere else 9 hours a day away from your family is really the best way to serve them. Personally, I think that a provider would be somebody who is giving the most quality emotional connection, providing ways to help their child expand their minds. Somebody who's doing the work of nurturing is really providing in that sense. Um, Having somebody leave the house and get away from their family and be too tired and come home and all that seems pretty neglectful, really, other than the actual money coming in.
We have such a lack of imagination when people just repeat the word jobs. It's pathetic. It's,
You-
yeah.
How about you, Gavin? I know that you're podcasting and attending these things. Do you have do you have another job or a different identity that you use? Do you have I don't know what your background is in.
Oh, do I have an identity? No. I've recently taken to describing myself as you know, whatever term you can think of, Democrat,
I
Republican,
agree.
conservative.
Identity is the
I,
worst. Just the
yeah,
worst.
Right, labels. I hate
right.
labels. It's like, I don't
Mhm.
care. I like, you want to do labels, make a label maker.
Yeah.
I want to see change. I want to see problems solved. I don't give a shit about labels anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
some
like,
people
you
live in a
don't.
world where there's nothing but. Just everything is just partitioned into an identity, and that's their. They can only think in those terms, and it's
That,
wow, that's tough.
that,
That's terrible.
So you don't think of yourself as a musician, Shale.
See, I do, and sometimes it's stupid
That's
too.
an identity.
That's right. And the other day I was like, gosh, why do I have singer-songwriter in my Twitter bio? I haven't written a song in a while. And I started to feel bad. And I was like, why do I feel bad about nothing? This is so stupid. Identity is nothing. And then I felt better.
There you go. That's it.
it's
So that's the thing. Yeah, like for me, I'm like, if you start to talk about momhood, and then you say, maybe suggest that I'm not being the best mom, I'm gonna, fight you. I'm getting up to fight you right
Whereas
now.
if you suggest I'm not being the best musician, I'm going to say, okay.
Well, if you say I'm not the best musician, nothing, no
Right,
reaction from
right.
me
So
whatsoever.
there you
But
go.
if you say I'm a bad mom, all of a sudden,
Right,
there's going to be
right,
fisticuffs
right.
tomorrow.
Sure. So there are different kinds of
I said-
identities.
Were you gonna say something, Gavin?
say it again.
There was a lot going on. I just wanted to see if you were going to say something. There was a lot going on, and I saw you lighten up there, but
Yeah, I think that, well, one, we could take this down a really philosophical route. It's the question of identity and self is very has a lot of implication here, and ego, right? like you were saying, Faye, like if someone accused you of being a bad mother, independent of what their opinion is, there's a reality yet again. You either spend, 4 hours or 6 hours or however many hours you spend with your children, and the quality of that time is a reality, independent of whatever they think, right? And, personally, I've had, people who I'm close to have the capacity to hurt my feelings because I value them, and I think part of this process is getting away from, or moving towards a mentality of, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. You know, if what they're saying is not not doesn't compile with reality, it just doesn't matter. So I advocate for that mentality.
Well, the
Anyway.
thing is, reality is not is not as definite as you might think. This is what you were getting at before, I think, when you said, we think in black and whites. And that's the thing, is that there really is a middle position. There is no such thing as I am a good mom or I am a bad mom. Everybody is a flawed mom. The ideal
Yeah.
mom, nobody could be that. There's no such thing.
And what someone thinks of you doesn't change actually of your actual relationship with your children. And again, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of like it happens in family courts all the time. There's sort of there's always a way you could be the bad mom. If you work, then you're working too much and you're away from your children too much. You're not watching them, and then something
Sure,
happens. It's your
sure.
fault.
But
If you're not working, then you're not bringing enough money. It's the exact opposite problem, and that can make you a bad mom also. So there
I
really is
love
no
that.
way. Yeah. To
but
be a good one.
in family court, there are stakes that are not just internal validation, and we're just talking about feeling internally validated.
Well, besides internal validation, but that's, the thing is, we're coming up on this big human shift. And there's a people who are, clinging to their original identities, which might be their job. I'm a great, whatever it is you do, I'm a great carpenter.
Yeah.
Or I'm a really good podcaster.
See,
Or I'm, I can never be replaced by a robot or whatever. There's all
Yeah.
these feelings. But actually,
it's silly.
we need to let them go. This is
Yeah.
a really big problem in order to move forward. And,
Yeah.
but how do you
That's
let
how
them
you-
go? I can't let go of a lot of mine,
You
all be
it's
replaced by a
it
robot.
feels good when you can, though. I've let go of everything, and it feels great.
Hello, everyone.
We can all be replaced by a robot eventually, so it's
hi,
kind
And
of
that's
gonna come
fine.
to the point.
Yeah.
Eric is here.
It's gonna come to the point where we kind of stop thinking of the things that robots can do as the things that make things valuable, and start thinking of like just being with each other as
Robots.
That's exactly right, Mia.
Robots are freedom. I mean, it's our own mental illness that make them into things that to be scared of. It's our collective mental illness as a job addicted society
Yeah.
to hate robots. If people weren't so brain dead, like I get really passionate about it. It's like, thanks, Mr. Robot. Do this boring crap that I don't give a shit
robots-
about, so I can create my empire.
Do you know
I
what?
can be
Exactly right.
creative.
Yes.
It's the collective mental illness of humanity that are making robots a problem.
And it's not just so you can do that. They're not just doing your drudgery so you can get on with the interesting things. They give you leverage. You can use the robots to do the things you want to do better, and it's spectacular. I'm not worried about robots replacing me as a songwriter, even though robots can replace songs. I use robots in my songwriting now. I'll use an AI if I want to help, writing lyrics or something. It's so much fun. It's great.
Yeah,
I also like to point out that there's going to come a point where we don't have enough jobs, but we still have people who need to be fed and clothed. And not everybody's going to be super creative to the point that they invent the next new thing, right? And not everybody wants to be constantly pumping out product or tapping their brain. Some people just aren't as creative as others. So we're going to have to, at some point, accept that people are going to just sit at home on the couch, being part of the community of video games that they're playing so that the guys creating the video games have somebody to play them, being part of society. And that's valuable too. It is okay to just be part of society if you don't have something that you specifically feel like you can contribute at that time. Maybe you'll find something, maybe you won't. No pressure.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like why isn't being an audience considered as valuable a contribution as being a producer? The stuff isn't
Right.
useful if it isn't consumed. Who cares if it's produced if it's not consumed?
I have a
Right.
quote on this very
It,
subject
go
from
ahead.
Kai-Fu
Hi,
Lee.
Eric.
Hello,
Hi, Eric.
how's it going?
Thanks for
But
joining us.
of course, yeah, I saw that this was in session and I'm like, oh, I haven't seen you guys in session for a little bit. Time hasn't quite worked out, but um, the quote that you reminded me of is from Kai-Fu Lee, the author of AI Superpowers, China, Silicon Valley, and the New World Order. He says that AI only ever allows us to truly understand ourselves. It will not be because these algorithms captured the essence of the human mind. It will be because they liberated us to forget about optimizations and instead focus on what truly makes us human, loving and being loved.
Automating our best decision
Wonderful.
making,
Yeah.
right? There it comes again. We want
Yeah.
to automate these decisions and free ourselves up from, did I write that in my calendar? What do I optimally like at the end of the day, each and every day, we want to be able to look back and be like, yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to do. Thank you. And I've started to shift away from artificial intelligence to assistive intelligence, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just there to aid us in this process. And I'll give you the quick lowdown. You can listen to the podcast as well. It's my first episode. There's a guy who I interviewed, and he's working on creating digital twins of ourselves in an education system. So
Hmm.
what it's doing is it's using AI to compile the information that you've learned through this process in the education system, and the teacher can ping that digital twin and say, hey, like, have you finished this homework? And it can say, yeah, I did that homework, and this is what I know about it, right? And and the reciprocal is you can ping the teacher and ask it, and if the teacher's digital twin has ever answered that question, it can ping you back. And this is the GPT-3 that thing that I was
Huh.
talking about, is that processing of language that can rehearse this information. But what's really cool is the GPT-3 allows for you as a second grader to ping the entire teacher network. And if any of the teachers, eighth grade teacher, right, has the answer and they've responded, it can cater the response to your grade level. So
Okay,
there,
I've never heard of GPT-3, so I just wanted to say that I'm learning about it, and it says it's a generative pre-trained transformer 3, an auto-regressive language model that
Huh.
uses deep learning to produce human-like text. All right, go on.
You should check
yep,
that out.
yep,
Let's take a look at that. Yeah.
yeah, it's gonna change the world. Basically,
Yes, it is.
it can now common folk, you can say, hey, I had mold in my basement, so I got sick, and it can translate it into legal jargon where it said the plaintiff like received like, deficient sort of
Wow.
health benefits.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
It
need
can,
that.
So we have like an AI advocate. That's amazing.
That is
By-
definitely
by-
one area
by
that
the
they're
way,
working on, yes.
Oh my
Like,
god. Have you played
reading-
AI Dungeon though?
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Sorry, Faye. Go on.
I've played a little bit with
Yeah.
you. Right
No,
here
you
on
were
this show.
saying. You were saying.
I was gonna say that yeah, they've already created the AI advocate. I remember researching AI and the new technologies they have replaced the lawyers. They're able to replace lawyers in very simple cases like specifically traffic. So they've had a robot lawyer that's successfully litigated many tens of thousands of cases at this point. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that actually so I've been in my political life these days dealing with the Democratic Socialists of America Connecticut chapter a lot. I've been going to a lot of their meetings and getting to know them. And one of the big issues that they are pushing for in Connecticut is right to counsel for evictions. So just as if you are convicted of a crime, you have a right to legal counsel. if you are evicted, you would also have a right to legal counsel. And
That is so great. I mean,
yeah,
not having a lawyer is a huge disability for the humans that have to go through these processes
Right.
because they're so
mhm.
complicated.
And that's actually one thing that I brought up, um, to a little bit of a disappointment, that when I mentioned these AI advocates that can help people and see about creating a AI advocate for right to counsel, so that at least um, people can have an AI advocate for them in their eviction process. If like the DSA would be interested in helping set that up, connect people and programmers to make that happen, they were totally uninterested. Um, they said that we want to make sure that people have a legal right. We want to change the law first. We don't care about access. We don't care about the ability to do it. We want them to have the right for it. And I'm like, this is so backwards.
I
If
know.
it like let
Well, shouldn't it be
give
like
them
this,
the
you know?
ability, give the like even if they don't have the right, give them the ability to, and you'll still be helping people in a tangible way.
Well,
And
those 2 things are connected, aren't they? I mean, how you can pass a law, but if you don't have the ability to actually access,
e-
then how does that work?
exactly. And I am it struck me as myope on their part. But I mean,
But I think a lot of people shut down when you talk about robots or you talk about
yes.
automation because they don't understand it well. They're still living in the time of Orwell and things that, the old sci-fi,
Or the
where we
Terminator
warned everybody
movie. Yeah.
how dangerous it was going to be when,
Yeah,
that was all that was happening.
unfortunately, we have to accept the world that we live in as it is in some cases. Some things are not going to be changed. Privacy is dead, whether we like it or not. Um, and no right to privacy will ever be meaningful. Um,
Right.
but
Like,
but we
unless we
can
can engineer something that can somehow protect people, I can't imagine it.
exactly
All
it
of my
is.
children, yeah, my children are now growing up in a time when the school gives you a computer that you will use, right? And while you're using this computer, you're told you are monitored. And you sign some form like you're going to reject their computer. No, everybody's getting it. But you've signed a form that says you understand that people will be monitoring your use of this machine, all the time. So if you say
Mhm.
anything that might be, damaging to yourself or your family or anybody, then something people will notice and will come and talk to you about it and possibly put you in jail for saying something, too inflammatory. So uh, the kids are growing up in this world, and it's too late for us as adults to say, oh, like we're gonna fix it.
I think
We didn't fix it. We created it.
I think the
Yeah.
best way
Yeah.
to teach our kids growing up in this current environment is to compartmentalize their different identities and their different spaces. So that way that they're only accessible through like say 1 or 2 devices per thing that they're functioning on. So if you've got a school computer, you only use that school computer for school things. If you've got a personal phone, you use that one phone for your social media. If we keep things individually private like that, it at least helps stop other people who might be involved in organizations and such who are providing us with free stuff from being involved in our personal stuff.
We're going to have to get super laser focused on data privacy in this regard, and it's happening too. The data dividend project that Andrew was advocating for, it's becoming more and more prevalent, that and just clear that we can't have this information weaponized, right? And we're all human, right? We inevitably, each and every one of us is going to make a mistake, right? And
Right.
recognizing that it's going to happen. Now how can we start humanizing this, right? Because
Well,
it's not, it's going to happen. So the cancel culture thing has been the swing of that process, and we're looking to get away from that mindset of damning people for anything they did or didn't do, etc.
I I agree. I think cancel culture will either A, destroy us, or B, we'll get over it. And we will realize that, you know what? Everyone's a human being. Everyone does things that in all of human history up to this point, no one else would have ever known, no one else would have ever caught. But now you can give someone a dirty look for just half a second. And if you're on video, an AI can record it, find that you gave that person a dirty look, and tell them that you gave them a dirty look, even if they never saw it. And
True.
that sort of thing,
You could
that's
be on camera anywhere now in modern society. The cell phones
exactly
are everywhere.
exactly. And
But okay, this is something that actually happened to me. So I was trying to send something right to Kenya through Western Union, and I met up with a bank lady in in my local Walmart. You know, this bank, and she asked me all of these questions about why I was sending the money, who I was sending it to, had I ever met this person before? And I was getting really kind of like, okay, do you need to know all that? And she was like, yes, yes, they tell me I have to ask these questions. And I believe that might be the case, right? But eventually, after I answered all of her questions, she said, I don't believe you. And she refused to do the transaction for me. And I was like, well, why don't you believe me? Is it because the person I'm sending to is a black man in Kenya and I'm an Asian woman? You know, like if I was saying I was going to send it to somebody in Taiwan, where I'm from, I don't think she would have blinked twice. She'd be like, oh, yeah, that's normal. So then I went over to a kiosk.
Scams come from that area. Just as a note, a lot of the scams do happen to come from that area.
Yes.
It is kind of a trigger point for most banks to question that kind of thing.
But is
You've
that-
heard Nairobian prince asking for funds and such. A lot
Oh,
of the
sure.
scams are from there.
But if I answer your questions, you have to believe me. You have to accept my answers. And she said, no, I don't believe you. So then I went over to a kiosk, right, at the Walgreens, and it was a machine. And I had never, ever in my life been so happy to see a machine replace a human being, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, this machine is going to let me do it because it's not going to have judgments about me. You
No
know,
biases.
and
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so. I think, you know, if you ask everybody in the room, you know, or you know, your kids or whatever, do you trust, you know, this faceless machine, this AI, to
Yeah.
take your private information, or do you trust a human being to write down your information? You know, some also faceless, right? Because now you're doing transactions with all of these internet companies. You don't know who they are. You don't know who's getting your phone number and your private information, right? You're like, which one do you trust more? They're probably going to pick the AI, right? Because the AI can be written in a way that human beings don't look at it, and the humans are the problem.
Yeah.
You
The
can
humans
trust
are
an
the
AI
ones who
to
are
do
afraid of.
exactly
It's
as it's
not weird.
programmed to do,
I think
regardless.
that if we get robot doctors, you'll actually see increased doctor visits as well. Because I think a lot of people are just describe their symptoms, or you know, don't want to talk about their information with the doctor, and that is like why people don't show up. If you had something that was like not going to judge you when
Yeah.
you said, "Hey, I drink 3 6-packs a day,"
They're just
Then
gonna,
you would be less likely to lie to the AI.
they're just gonna tell you not to have Tylenol. That's the problem. They're
Well,
Dr. House MD was like one of those. The program was always about how the humans lie, so we have to investigate everything ourselves.
You know what? We should
Everybody
have
lies, he
we
said.
should have an AI congressperson. That's what we need. Just one to start. See how they do.
You know, I've actually thought about that in significant depth.
Yeah.
Originally, the idea started with Yang's presidential campaign. I had this idea in July of 2019, where so suppose it's 2019 and Andrew Yang is still possibly going to become the next president of the United States. I specifically had a conversation with him, and he was really into the idea. Of course, it didn't happen because he didn't win the nomination, but the idea was to create an AI version of himself. trained off of the way he talks, trained off of his responses, um, and just so that like you have an AI chatbot of the president of the United States that you can talk to.
And also hologram.
Did you?
I
Well,
always wanted hologram
here was the
name.
thing. Here was the thing with it. It was a two-way communication. Although, so the idea behind it was that you have this AI trained off of the president, and anyone in America can call this AI president and talk to them. Just have a chat with Andrew Yang, just because he's a very personable guy, and he happens to be president. Well, if you also have that AI program record what people ask it and listen to what people are saying, then that can serve as an advisory role to the president, and it can, um, I forget the word. It can gather
It
the
could
information all
aggregate.
together. Yes, it can aggregate all the information um, that people have been talking to the AI president about, and give it give advice to the president as to what people are talking about.
Yeah,
And
that would be really cool, but I feel like we could have done that at any moment. Our government doesn't do enough of this, is ask us how we want our government to work. We don't
because they
get
don't
this.
care.
All we get is the election, right? And
Yeah,
during the election, we all understand like there's almost nothing that you can push on that. It's like pushing on a string and nothing's moving. But if you like during the rest of the year, or rest of the 4 years or 6 years, right, in between the elections, nobody asks me how I'm feeling about what's happening, or
because the truth is
nobody
they're
tries
not
to get my
interested.
ideas. That's how I feel, definitely. I
Well,
definitely
it's
feel
the
it. They
truth.
don't
It's the
care.
truth that they're interested in playing their own games, their own. I mean, they're focused on their own careers. They're focused on the game of politics of can't let the other side win. Um,
IRS has never sent me a survey asking me how they're doing, or,
yeah.
the water department or anything in this
Yep.
country. Nobody's ever asked me.
Hmm.
I want to take a quick moment here to say that we are starting to run low on time. We have about 15 minutes that we generally reserve left. And since Gavin is our guest today, I'd like to see if there's anything else he would like us to touch on before we are going to close out.
Uh, yeah, what you I'm not I didn't catch, sorry again. I didn't catch your name again. You were
Eric
talking
or
about
Lucas?
Eric. Um, Eric,
Yes.
what you're talking about is directly in line with that digital twin that I was talking about. Like it, as it compiles data about Andrew Yang, right? Then it can start to respond to people, and you just you could have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people just sitting there chatting with Andrew Yang's digital twin, and
Hmm.
it yep. Yeah, that idea is brilliant, and it's
Well,
taken his team 10 years to put this whole concept together. And here in September, hopefully they're going to be launching to make that a reality.
I,
that's very cool, and I just want to add that I think that this could easily be implemented not only for the president, it could also be for every elected office in the country.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna. I mean, yet again, we're trying to get this assistive intelligence to start doing work for us. And
Hmm.
yeah, look at the implications with counseling, crisis hotlines, etc. It's a
Mhm.
brilliant idea. I love that you're talking about it, Eric.
Well, oh,
I just had a funny thought. I'm sorry. Do you guys mind if I that you were saying counseling, and I was thinking, wouldn't it be great if, like, when couples got into arguments, they just turned on their assisted bots to do the argument for them, walked into separate rooms, and then
Yeah.
came back?
Here's who won. Nobody.
that would be so awesome. I
Let's
could
have our
record all. You're just going to say the
Yeah.
same thing over and over
Yeah,
again. Just
exactly.
record it.
How'd I do? Oh,
rather than us fight, let's have our AI fight while we go make love.
Yeah. So Mia,
That makes so much sense.
mm,
to come back with uh, in closing, I suppose I want to try and, one of the things that I'm trying to do is get get a consensus around how do we start branching, putting these pieces of the puzzle together. How do we start, you know, we're not just UBI advocates here. We're everything. We're all of the above, we're about good ideas. And that's what it's all about. We don't have a commitment to being right. We have a commitment to being happy. So, yeah, Eric.
I was going to say that the Yang Gang is focused on a vision of humanity first, and that UBI is a main part of it,
Mhm.
but we're a bunch of pragmatists here. We're a bunch of ideological pragmatists that our ideology, we want the world to be a better place, but we want to do it in a pragmatic way. That's the thing that I've noticed unifies the Yang Gang.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I I would love to work with any and all of you to try and cultivate an increasingly more incentivized platform for us to be able to point, where we can just say, hey, if you're about this thing, like, come join us. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, come and join us. We need your help. We need your expertise. We want to see where you fit in, because we're all gods. We all have these really special skills. We're each unique, and it's going to take each of us to be contributing to this process of, collective conscience, so to speak. So, um, yeah, I think it's really important for us to be viewing this long-term goal and this process, and not get bogged down by what he said and she said. Um, it's what I keep advocating for anyway. So yeah,
Thank
yep.
you. Yeah.
Mhm. So this Clubhouse thing, I don't have an Apple phone or any Apple devices, so I
Yeah, me
can't get
neither.
into the Clubhouse things. But we have been using the Spaces on Twitter because ever since they opened that up to Android. And there's just so many of these, this is again another competing area where different people are trying, different companies and different corporations and people are trying to create these new platforms for us to use. We're finding them really interesting and fun. So please do keep inviting people to do you do Clubhouse? Like, how does it work? Do you
Yeah,
open up a room like in those spaces, or how does it work?
yeah. So recently I've been opening up a room titled "Who's Ready for Game B?" So yeah, I just, my intention is to just keep on opening it up, and you know let all the people who see the light come in
So,
and share their story, and see how they can contribute, what their intention is, and um yeah, get, propagate these voices that are allowing this process to be more fluid. So yeah,
You want
that's
to
my.
do, how do
yeah.
people join you? We don't know how to join, but you can teach other people how to join you if they have the right equipment.
Yeah, my name on it is Gavin Campbell. I run the EWTA Clubhouse room. It's under that same as my podcast, and yeah, GFRPAAC is my username for all my digital platforms. So
Do you
yeah.
think you might come to another platform like Twitter Spaces, which I haven't used, but if you were going to open a room there, I'd go there. I wanted to use Clubhouse, but like Faye, I don't own any Apple products that can do that. So do you think maybe you'll expand, or are there other people who are going to take the Copiosis idea to these other spaces, or is there a place you'd recommend if you can't get to Clubhouse?
This is the bottleneck that we're experiencing, is this smattering of platforms, and um, yeah, I mean, we have Slack, we have Discord, we have WhatsApp, we have Signal, and uh, whoever comes up
Nextdoor.
with this
Yeah.
unified platform is going to be
Yeah.
heavily rewarded, because That's exactly what we're looking for, is a one-stop shop for
So I
all
guess I'll look for
yeah.
the Discord myself then, I guess, for Copiosis.
Yeah, they're primarily on Facebook, as I can tell at the moment. I don't know if they're opening rooms to chat about this stuff, but the primary following is Facebook anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add you as put a credit for you in our show. Would it be okay if I just put the GFRP AAC on Twitter for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
credit?
that'd be
Do you
great.
want to? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, and what a pleasure to be with everyone here. It's this is the thing that keeps you going each day, is people
Yeah.
who are coalescing
Yeah.
around these
But
human-centered ideas.
Yeah, thanks for
yeah,
coming.
and that's so cool. You're from like a place like Homer, Alaska. That's like one of the unconnected parts of the United States. Like I just looked it up. It said it's the halibut fishing capital of the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that when we started this discussion that we were going to be talking more about the Alaska Permanent Fund, but I like where we went with the discussion, and I'm glad that
Yeah, me too.
we were able to have it.
Yeah, I gotta
So
check out this Copiosis thing, and I
Yeah,
wish I
yeah,
could. I wish I could join you for the Game B
yeah,
discussions in Clubhouse. So if you do take
yeah,
the Game B discussions anywhere else, let us know.
yeah.
Let's set an intention, because I have jumped in on Twitter Spaces a couple times, and I'm familiar with it. How would you all
I
feel
I
about
can I can I have a space hosting privileges. So you can definitely you know the first space I want to host, and I'm going to do this probably today or tomorrow, is I wanted to host a space called Inviting the Abundance. And I was going to ask everybody in the space, if you had a replicator and a transporter from like from sci-fi movies, it could take you wherever the hell you wanted, and it could make whatever the hell you wanted. Like, what would you use first and why? And then I was gonna do something like that. So that's kind of like a B discussion, kind of like right there and then. Like, when if money is obsolete and you had two things that could make you anything and take you anywhere, and then I was just gonna see what
Nice.
people say. Yeah.
You gonna say, Gavin?
No, no, no. I love it, Ariel. Yeah, I would be happy to join in and uh, try and help make that work out.
Excellent. It's and I just want to say, like, it would be so cool, like they could have like a Simpsons episode in Homer, Alaska, because it would make so much
Homer. You're looking at all the unusual names. Wait till you see Texas, Ariel.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
got we got we got co- we got place names like Blanket. Anyway, Ariel, do
Yeah,
you want to go ahead and do your closing, because this is the
sure.
part of our program where we
Right. Okay. So, my name's Ariel. I'm in California. You can find me on Twitter at Ariels. So that's ARIELS, and I'm also on YouTube, youtube.com/revolutionary thinking. Haven't made a new video yet, but probably will eventually. Thank you.
All right, very good. I'm Faye Koo. You can find me at Palestine Math on Twitter, or just as myself on Facebook. Sheila and I are doing this project right now that's very personal. It's about me trying to be able to talk to my children again, or at least get a letter from them. We are recording all of my letters that I wrote to my children, and we're putting it on OpenSea. Um, those letters that I wrote when I was incarcerated at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles, which is a federal facility. So if you're interested in that project, just go on OpenSea and search for Letters from Jail, and you will be able to see the entire collection. We're still recording and dropping about one every week, and they're about like 30-minute long audio programs. You can listen to them by just clicking on our photo in the store. You don't have to worry about buying it. We know that this is kind of a playground for pretty wealthy people. So Hopefully somebody will pick it up at some point. All right. Um, Mia, do you want to go ahead and do your closing?
Sure, why not? I'm at Mia Songbird on Twitter, Mia Songbird on Frayed Out World. I do Humanity Hangs Tuesdays and Fridays. You can check those out through Humanity Forward. I do this every Saturday mostly. I'm on special today because Gavin I invited on. I'm just going to mention this real quick before we go because it's kind of interesting. I was highlighted by Zoom yesterday.
Yes.
Oh,
Whoa.
So you can look at some of my artwork that they shared from that I draw on Humanity Hangs. They shared one picture, which was just a sunset that I drew. And then the other picture was of Kim Woods. You guys know Kim from from Income Movement. It was her dog, her poor departed dog Omen, that I drew during one of the meetings as well. So
Okay. Yeah, because I was like, I would have remembered if I saw a portrait of Kimberly.
no, not of Kim. It was I'm not calling Kim a dog. I was referencing Kim's dog. But yeah, that's my big news for recently. And I'm going to be talking to Nell, I think, this weekend, as long as things don't go crazy.
Nell Nieves?
Yes.
cool.
Podcast My Creative Workshop.
Nice.
So I'll probably be drawing, and we'll be talking about that a little bit more and some other things.
Yeah, he's one of the very famous creatives in our group. Very, very cool. Very cool. Let's see. Eric, introduce yourself and to the audience at the very end.
Sure. I'm Eric Storsund. You can find me at ericstorsund.com, ERIKSTORESUND. You can also find me at Twitter at Eric Storsund. I am running for Congress in Connecticut's 3rd District. Having a bit of a hard time getting further than I am in it, but still working on it.
Eric, how do you spell your last name so that people can
Oh,
find it if they're just
oh,
listening by audio?
oh yeah. It's ERIKSTORESUND. So store like you shop in, sun like in the sky, and D as in dog.
Where did Copiosis come from, though?
Kairosis? Kairosis is a name that I chose, a pseudonym that I chose in 2018, and I've just been using it since. It's one of the many pseudonyms that I've used throughout my life.
All right.
But yeah.
Okay.
So that's awesome. If people wanted to find out more about your campaign, where would they go? Is there a special,
Yeah.
campaign?
Yeah. There is a campaign website. It's ericstorson.com. Again, it's ERIKSTORESUND.com. And you will find that I have 15 policies ranging from a $2,000 a month universal basic income to changing intellectual property laws and treating the climate crisis like a war effort. So if you're interested in any of the ideas that the Yanggang has been associated with, I focus on about 15 of them and have a couple of my own. So yeah.
Very cool. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very
Lucas, are you ready?
Yes. Oh, and Eric, I'd love to help you as we get closer to next year since we're in the same district. So So I'm Lucas. I'm from West Haven, Connecticut. Nice to meet you all again. I come on the Yang Gang like here and there, like when I can, like between Friday and Sunday. But you can find me on ancestry.com. I have an account as Lucas Gabriel 86 or something. I'm not 100% sure. And then on Facebook, it's my name, Lucas Gabriel, and I have a blue shirt on. So. And Instagram, it's Lucas Gabriel. Yeah.
You cut
Nice.
out at the end of the Instagram. Do you want to say that one
It's
more time?
Lucas Gabriel 86.
Nice.
Gabriele.
All right, very good. So I think that's everyone, Shale.
All right, thank you. That was a great show, guys. My name is Shale Riley. My Twitter is Shale Riley, ShaelRiley. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back on Sunday with more basic. Oh, no, Saturday. Tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow with where it's basically basically not Sunday. Anyway. All right, thanks.